What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down this M103 3.0 engine that's right behind me. We've had a few questions about how to remove some parts and how to add some parts on it, so we figured this would be a perfect time to go get another engine and transmission, or just engine it for right now, and show you guys how to start stripping it. So, yeah. I guess we're going to start with the clutch fan and work our way back. So let's just get to it. So to start removing the clutch fan, first you have a little hex bolt in the center, and that hex bolt size is an 8mm, and I don't know if you guys can see the little part number right there, and my dirty ass thumbnail. And then you're going to need a little Allen key. If you just want to pull it out quick, show them.
4.5mm Allen key, just a regular Allen key.
And it's just taped to the needle nose pliers so that way it can fit and not fall out.
All the way in.
So there's like a little notch behind it. And we have a little demonstrated part right here. You see this little notch right there? So this little, there you go. It's gonna fit in there and then slide inside the little set hole right there, so that way this pulley doesn't move. And that's how you can get this little hex bolt out to pull the clutch fan out, because if you just try to crank that little bolt, it's just going to spin the pulley behind it, and it's just going to keep moving. You're not going to be able to take the pulley out. So he's going to set that in place. Is it in place?
Yeah, it's in.
He's going to take this and start cranking away. Fit in over here real quick. Here they're gonna have to go. So you go on the side of the pulley, in between the little cooler pipe right here. Fits perfect. Give her a little wiggle and jiggle, and boom.
Out.
Clutch fan is officially out, and then you have access to the pulley behind it. And technically, if you wanted to remove that pulley, since you already have that set in place behind there, I think that's 4 10mm,
yep,
if I'm correct. And then it'd just be the 4 10mm, and that pulley would also come off. Now that the clutch fan and pulley are removed, we're going to go to the side and remove the smog pump. And the smog pump has two 13mm bolts, and on the side of it, you're going to need some pliers to remove this clip that hooks up to this little valve. It has a vacuum line and all that kind of crap. But so now that the smog pump is officially removed, we're going to slide over here and remove the stock exhaust manifolds. There are 13 12mm bolts that hold the brackets or base plates or exhaust flanges, whatever you want to call it, in place. So he's just going to zip those off real quick. Now that the exhaust manifolds are off, we have access to the smog pump. I don't know what you want to call these valves, vacuum port things. Anyways, you have access to this little pipe, and this is another little hex bolt, and it's a 5mm, and that'll take that off along with a 13mm bracket or bolt that goes to that bracket, and that whole system for the smog pump will come off. Now that this side's done, we're going to start on this side, the cold side, and the first thing we're going to be removing is the power steering pulley, so we can get to the tensioner bracket, which is behind the other pulleys. So you guys can see the little bolt right there, and there's this little bar back here. So first, you gotta remove the pulley. And it is
13 mil.
3 13mm bolts. We already broke them loose. I mean, you guys can use, if you have a small enough impact to fit underneath the hood and not hit your radiator or condenser or anything, you can do it that way. There's pulley holders, there's vice grips, but boom, that easy. So that pulley had to be removed so we can get that freaking, damn, that's a dirty bolt, so you can get that bolt broken loose. Once you guys get those 3 13mm bolts, there is going to be this big bolt in the middle, and it is 19mm. Now that the tensioner bracket is removed, we can go ahead and remove this little mini shock that supports the tensioner. The bolt at the bottom is going to be an 11mm, and the bolt up top is a 13. So once those two are off, this whole tensioner system should be pulled out. As you guys saw, we almost forgot, but you have to remove the water pump pulley, which is right here. And we noticed that the water pump pulley and the power steering pulley are the exact same pulley if you just flip-flop them, but the same diameter, the same hole size, everything. So if you guys ever need to buy a water pump pulley or a power steering pulley and you guys can't find one, you guys might be able to part match just to get the other pulley, you know, vice versa. So it's a little pro tip and trick that we just learned ourselves. So now that the pulleys are off, the tensioner's off, we're gonna go ahead and just remove the power steering pump itself. And there are a couple of 13mm bolts holding it, and I believe there are nuts at the back of this bracket. Okay, now that all the bolts and nuts and everything are off, this pump should just pull right out. Oh. Now that the power steering's removed, we could remove the AC pump, but as you can see, it's not here. But it is 4 13mm bolts, and there's some long ass bolts, and then this bracket that hooks up at the back of it, I believe is like a 10 mil.
It's either that or an Allen key.
Yeah, it's a 10 mil or it's an Allen key. Talking about Allen keys, this little container contraption has 2 bolts that are also Allen keys, and those are going to be a 6mm. Let's see if we can get that part number for you. A 6mm hex key, and then that comes up to these fuel lines. It's like a fuel cooler line. Unfortunately, they're already cut, but that's okay. It would just be these crescent fittings right here. Just need a crescent wrench. Just remove that fitting and then this fitting right here. So he's gonna remove those 2 bolts real quick, and then that system should pop right out.
Okay, so now we're going to start removing the intake manifold. There's going to be 9 13 mil bolts. It's going to be one kind of hard to get to behind the thermostat and water pump. And then it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And then you're going to have to remove the oil filter housing to get the other one that's back in here. The hardest one you're going to have to get is probably going to be this one right here. You're going to have 2 Allen keys that you're going to have to remove. You have to remove the cold start valve completely to get to it. It's just that one and then this right here.
Now that the intake's removed, we're going to be removing the water pump and thermostat housing. 2 hose clamps, and there are 4 bolts. One is a 6 mil apparently, and the other 3 are 13 millimeters. Now that the 4 bolts are removed, we remove this. See it? This little bolt right here, and that was a 8 or 10 mil, and that goes to this coolant pipe that goes to that little what is it, like a little motor, electric motor pump thing that shoots over to the heater core and all that kind of shit. But that's besides the point.